60,000 students will miss out on higher education's loans board kitty this year. The Education Board says it can only offer loans to only 60,000 out of the 110 that are qualified or that have applied for the said loan. Defaulters and low rollover remain the biggest challenge. But President William Ruto is saying that scrapping off Helb to create another bigger body is going to fix this deficit. Now, is Ruto getting it right on the education plan? Because that seems to have caused jitters amongst the students. Welcome to the Bold Analysis. My name is Kevin Oduor. A decision to scrap off higher education's loan board, Helb, and merge it with the TVET and the university's fund board and the removal of education subsidy that was initiated by former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is now emerging as the new battlefront between Kenya Kwanza, the students of this country, and the Kenyan parents. So in this episode, I want us to dig on Ruto's education plan, which seems to be hurting the population because it's the new cause of restlessness amongst different members of the public. Kindly subscribe to our channel. This is the most informative political podcast, and we try to keep it deep, but also very factual. That's the niche that we cut in this space. Without much ado, this is a glimpse of what was promised. And this is President Ruto speaking in Kitui when he was addressing some university students who had attended his rally. I've also merged it with the sound of Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, who seems to be the new face of that rebellion.
We ask the president to cook for these comrades because they will come visit you. We don't want jokes. We've given you your time. We accepted the results even though we didn't agree with them. But right now it's your time to work. I remember you said very well that university fees will be free. I remember very well. And you said that Helb will be a grant. What has happened all of a sudden? In these developed countries, university is free of charge. And
guys, I need to make it unequivocal here that the biggest challenge that Kenya Kwanza is facing is not on deficit of good intentions, is not failure to implement the plan, but U-turns. There are a lot of U-turns. After promising to offer Hustler Fund as a grant, zero interest, it emerged into a loan. In the same measure, while acknowledging that the challenge was on amount of money that students are getting and the delay and the other technicalities on it, and also promising a grant, help to be a grant, there seems to be another U-turn, and that is the biggest, that's the gap that, according to me, is causing all these squabbles. Kenya Kwanza have a good plan, but the challenge is inconsistencies. So let me get you to Helb so that you also understand the gist of what is being proposed. Helb was established by an Act of Parliament, Cap 213A, of the laws of Kenya in 1995 to finance Kenyan students pursuing higher education. Now, the ideology behind this was to create a revolving fund from which future generations could borrow in pursuit of higher education. So I decided to ask a question because there is a proposal there that from that council, the money will be disbursed to universities, then universities disburse this money to the students. This has been a bone of contention, and I asked some two students, university students, on what exactly are the pros and cons of that.
Me being one of the beneficiaries of Helb, I want to say that Helb is very helpful to most of the students. More so when it is disbursed. I feel when it is disbursed by the government direct to our accounts. We have got instances where we have gotten institutions mismanaging even the money disbursed to them by the government itself for development. A good example is Masai Mara University. So I feel that the same money can be mismanaged. The same money can be mismanaged even by the institutions itself. I feel like that. So that once it has been mismanaged again, then you again tell me to repay it. And someone else has mismanaged it. Another thing, disbursing this money directly to our accounts help us in so many ways. One of the ways, when you are business oriented and maybe you have got able parents who can pay your school fees, and when they can pay means that the money has been disbursed to me, so I can use this money to even venture in other businesses. Like me, I did that business is still running up to date, so it is also a source of capital. So if you send it direct to the university, how will I get it? Another thing, as a student, that I feel the money should get to my account as opposed to universities, is that when the money has been disbursed to my account, it teaches me what is called financial management. So that fresh from high school, now I get thousands in my account. I now know which one to be used for lunch, which one to be used for maybe entertainment, which one is to be used for maybe school fees, something of that sort. So when you disburse this money direct to the university, I will leave the university even without knowing how to manage my funds.
Some of these funds that are directly given to students, they are not well managed. If a fund is taken directly to the institution will know exactly who is the neediest or who deserves to be supported. So that segregation or stratification can be decided by the institution, and it can help. And in so doing, you will come to realize that the most needy students, the highest number of needy students, will be accumulated, as opposed to a scenario where you only disperse funds for the sake of application. Another thing, there are those who only get funds through this Helb program, but some do not even attend classes, and then they enjoy these funds in the name of being in schools. They use this money in wrong ways. They continue disturbing their parents back at home. They need money. But if this money is within the institution will exactly identify a student who is serious in school and who deserves to be supported with these funds.
And what was envisioned is that when it's given out as loan to students, then when they're absorbed, and of course I think from the first 5 years of its inception, it was working. By 1995, the graduates that were being churned out from universities were easily absorbed. By then, I think the population was still low, and even in terms of governance of the day, there were job opportunities compared to now the millennials of 2022. So the ideology was, when you're given the loan, even me, I benefited from help. I've not paid fully, but partially. Yes, of course, we are making the partial payment. They've not paid for the advert how to pay, but you can also find out from yourself on your end. So what used to be done is that while the payment, those who are paying are helping revolve the fund. But since 2006, government has been injecting funds in that kitty because of higher default rate. The default rate is because of people who are saying they don't have jobs. So before I tell you on what exactly it is, amalgamation of Helb, TVET, and the university's bond fund to form National Skills and Funding Council is aimed to bridge the gap that I had mentioned, and the higher education gap of up to 45%, because universities have had a problem in funding in terms of even development. And apart from that, there have also been a challenge of students are getting that loan, and there's still a deficit in it. That's where I started. There are also another aspect that I want to point out. There is a monthly 5,000 monthly, not 5,000. There is a monthly, I don't know the amount, but there is a penalty on defaulters. It's a monthly penalty. Someone can help me find out. I got 5,000, but I don't think it's 5,000. I think that's ridiculous. The challenge here is that people are jobless. I want to ask a parent, the student, and anyone who had gone through Helb, and someone who has ever been to university, just help us find out. Do you support this money being given to students by the institution, or it being devolved through the Helb? The challenge is this: the same council that is going to give students loans is the same council that is going to fund the universities. So it comes with some cons because on that, if you refer to what that gentleman said, is universities also mismanage this fund. And if it is mismanaged, will the students really pay? Number one. Number two, because the person making a decision, the person funding development is the same person funding students, and I want to believe is the fees regulator, then what do we mean? Students might probably be hurt most because the council will prefer to give more funding to capacity building in the institutions than the school. If you were to ask me, is you just separate the two, let TVET do theirs, fund TVET, fund Helb, fund the university fund board, so that each runs their aspects, their roles separately. Apart from the Helb, Kenya Kwanza promised in the education charter to complete construction of vocational training centers in each of all the wards in the country. Apart from that, they also to ensure that every constituency has a TVET institution. So from wherever you are, you can make your own assessment. You can look around and see whether that has been achieved or how far it is. There is a very big one, and I have seen a threat by Azimio team saying that they can charge the students and parents to protest about one thing: education subsidy. And the economy advisors, I'm not an expert in economy, and all those presidential advisors, they should be very fair and relook removal of the subsidy, especially the one in the secondary school. Even the level of dropout now, for those of us who are in the village, if you just reflect back where you are, you realize that the level of dropout is high. And one of the challenges is people are dropping out of school because of school fees. It's as simple as that. Amongst other reasons, one of the biggest challenges is education financing. And education financing is a burden on the shoulders of parents. I think, with all due consideration, you can scrap every subsidy, but that of secondary school fees, that should be relooked. And I can tell you that President Ruto must really take keen interest in this, because this is where the hearts of parents are. This is where the parents are feeling the pinch, and there will be nothing as wrong and as very dangerous as students and parents staging such a rebellion. This is it. Don't rush. President Ruto, don't rush. Embrace extensive stakeholders' engagement on these issues. I analyzed some point, I think last year, that the conversion of opinions and ideas into law without well-laid public participation is going to create a backlash. The backlash here is not that it's a wrong idea to scrap Helb, but do extensive stakeholder approach, so that, and I know, I don't want to say that it's not being done, but the challenge is we've also had a problem of how we're doing our public participation. We don't have a legal framework to control it. What we have is a very shaky law, as simple as gathering some 4 or 5 people there, then talk to them, and they go. So we need to look at that. Then government must design communication tools and channels to create awareness on their policies and agendas. Some of these policies, I have seen President Ruto, and today is having, I think he's going to have a roundtable with the journalists. We're really looking up for that. So that, we've seen President Ruto talking about everything, be it security, I have disbanded, be it maize importation, we have imported, be it on the issue of dam, be it of everything on education. President Ruto is talking about everything as if the other people are not working. That is creating a bit of this character assassination, and it's exposing the government a bit. It's because maybe we have not invested far on the media, and media not articulating the government agenda. You cannot blame them for that. You know, they've also had a beef with the government of the day because of the funding. Government owes them some billions, so they've also had their own reservations with that. So we need to look at it so that it can be really be communicated, things can be communicated to the public. Then Ruto will risk hostility with the young people. The worst unrest is that emanating, starting from the universities, or rather from the students. And the students will take a non-bipartisan approach on these matters. When it comes to Helb, just the same way MPs are united when it comes to their salaries, the students are going to be united. You are going to be united when it comes to the Helb. It will not take tribal cocoons and community arrangements. You risk a high and exploded unrest in different universities. It gives government a letdown, or rather a bad image, when you see University of Nairobi, another university, the other one in Kisumu, you see Pwani, Machakos. When it ruptures, it starts off. And so on the issue of Helb and the subsidy, I think they need to look at it. The reason why on this one, President needs to be very cautious is it's also an avenue that can be used by political distractors to shame the government. People can fund these unrests within the universities just to shame the government. And it happens during back in the days. These things, for those of you who've been in campus, it happens. No protest is normally done without a backroom deal that is behind everything. So we need to look at it. I don't know what's your take so far on the education plan, but for me, my takeaway is simple. We need to engage the public, the stakeholders, and communicate. Otherwise, we risk a full-blown rebellion.